Hello, you probably don't know who I am, but my name is Nick. As of recording this, about 3 days ago, there was an executive order put in place to cut federal funding for the CPB, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which is the nonprofit corporation that oversees NPR and PBS. NPR only gets about 1% of their overall funding from the government, and PBS gets about 15% of their overall funding for the government. So I'm not here to spread any misinformation by saying that either of these corporations are going anywhere. Clearly, it's 1% and 15% of their budget. I think they'll be okay. So with the government cutting this 1% from NPR and this 15% from PBS, we don't really know where that money is going to go. So it's hard to really say that I feel one way or another yet. The argument being made to justify this executive order is, quote, PBS and NPR present biased and partisan news coverage. What I will say is that I've heard arguments made that NPR specifically has stations that will slander the name of Donald Trump, when I myself heard and was a witness to local stations slandering the name of Joe Biden while he was in office. It's not really fair when you had the exact same thing happening while Joe Biden was in office. I'm trying to stay neutral about it, again, because we don't know specifically where this money is going to go after it gets cut from NPR and PBS. But I am publishing this whole episode about an NPR product, so I did not want to not acknowledge it. Hopefully you enjoy the video and the episode. Have a good day. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to Nick's Mix and Flicks, the podcast where we talk music and movie reviews and other stuff too. Today, we're going to be going over my top 12 Tiny Desk concerts. Yes, top 12, not top 10. I'll get into it in just a second. Let's get into it. Yeah, when I hear music, got to talk about it. Got me a collection of movies that I can watch a lot of. If that's not your suit, at least try it on for a fit. You gotta tune into this Nick's Mix and Flicks. Before we dive too into it, as always, please leave a like, comment below, follow or subscribe to the podcast depending on what platform you are on. Every single interaction counts. I'm currently trying to hit the 100 subscriber and follower mark. We have a little bit of ways to go, but I think we can get there if we really try. Thanks, guys. So, Tiny Desk concerts are a thing of beauty. The history of Tiny Desk concerts goes all the way back to 2008 with singer-songwriter Laura Gibson. But before we get too into that, I'd like to briefly dive into the creation of NPR and how it became one of the most recognizable radio and broadcasting networks in history. Founded in 1970, NPR, or National Public Radio,
Yes, a national public radio, see? Yeah.
was created to provide programming to non-commercial and educational radio stations. Basically, NPR was for the nerds, at least at first. Over the years, NPR would blossom into many successful and long-running programs such as All Things Considered, Morning Edition, and today's topic, Tiny Desk concerts. Now it's not just the nerds that tune into NPR, it's all the cool people too. This is a very, very brief surface-level overview of the history of NPR, so if you'd like to know more about that, I recommend doing some research of your own. There is a lot to it, a lot more than I'm going to discuss in today's episode. But back to that last program, Tiny Desk Concerts.
Did he say Tiny Desk concerts? I can't tell, because he said it 50 times so far.
Tiny Desk Concerts started in April of 2008. So that means we just passed last month the 17th anniversary of these wonderful performances. Let's hear a round of applause for folks over at NPR. Woo! Yeah, Bob Boilen. Okay, yeah, Robin Hilton. Woo! For over 17 years, the production team at the New York headquarters of NPR have provided the space and desk for over 1,200 artists to come to work and showcase their talent when stripped down to the barest state. Now, yes, I said over 1,200 in-office performances, not including the thankfully shorter-lived Tiny Desk home concerts collection, which were filmed and recorded over the span of the COVID-19 quarantine. If we add the amount of at-home concerts as well, that brings the total of the in-office and home concerts to over 1,600. And that's not even all of them. Truly, if you're a fan of live music, I implore you to at least rifle through the Tiny Desk performances because there are just a ton of them. And if you couldn't quite tell, I myself am a really big fan of this series as it showcases what it means to truly be an artist. Yikes, not me being sappy about an internet series. Psych! I'll be sappy all I want because this is a great thing that the production crew of NPR is doing. A great thing, I tell you! So as always with these rankings, I have an honorable mention section. That's what we're going to be talking about right now. But before we get into any artists that are honorable mentions, there is no Tiny Desk without the team of people that put these together, that set up the equipment, that reach out to these artists, managers probably, and whatever else they do, I guess. Thank you to the following people: Bobby Carter, Joshua Bryant, Josh Rogerson, Cara Frame, Sophia Seidel, Grace Raver, Josephine Nayonai, Ashley Pointer, Dora Levitt, Michael Zamora, Maya Stern, Lars Gottschrick, Soraya Muhammad, Bob Boylan, Stephen Thompson, and Keith James, among many, many other people that make this series possible. And if we could get another round of applause and another thank you, because these folks deserve the recognition of all the hard work they put in. Let's get into the artist honorable mentions. All of these Tiny Desk concerts are available to watch in their full on the NPR Music channel, I believe, because there's NPR and then there's NPR Music. That's the home base of the Tiny Desk concert series. So if you want to check any of these out, which again I do recommend you doing, please go do that. Our first artist's Tiny Desk concert that we'll be talking about is Kuko. Whether it's the trippy psychedelic strums on his electric guitar or his soothing vocals, Kuko puts on a performance worth tuning into. Born in California, he cites artists like Chicano rapper Baby Bash and Kevin Parker of Tame Impala as big musical influences for him. One listen through his discography or this Tiny Desk concert and you can see why. The concert at the Tiny Desk serves as a great mix of a slow head bobbing groove with the song Pendant, which highlights his bandmate Fern, who rocks a backwards hat and rips a super hella funky guitar solo around the 3.5 minute mark. Seriously, if you're like me and you're a sucker for a good guitar solo, I highly recommend that you grace your ears with these notes. It's like you can see them float off of the bass of the guitar itself. It's awesome. This video serves as a great early evening nap soundtrack as I fell victim to its smooth and drowsy sounds. Though I was at my desk and the nap was involuntary, the music did genuinely relax me. It's just that good. Wanted to shout out Kuko for this one. GG Kuko. Probably worth noting that every single one of these performances I will discuss all feature a live band, which is seemingly like a prerequisite for a Tiny Desk concert. I absolutely love live music, and so digging through these performances is like mining for diamonds, but finding a bunch of netherite. And then right next to the netherite is a bucket of honey barbecue chicken from the Walmart deli, and that might only be specifically good for me, but if you know, you know. Let's talk about a little bit of T-Pain. If you're not familiar with T-Pain and the auto-tune impact he had on the early 2000s R&B and club music scene, then one of two situations is occurring. Either you just don't listen to his music or claim to have never heard a song of his, which I promise you, you have, or I have not done my job to make you aware of T-Pain, and it sure ain't the second one, so you got some research to do, dog. Performances like this are arguably one of the reasons why Tiny Desk concerts are such a treat and beloved by millions of people. At this point in his career, T-Pain was like the, quote, auto-tune guy. Most of his popular songs at the time very heavily featured the vocal effect that essentially takes away the need for an artist to try to sound good, and it does exactly as its name suggests, which is automatically tunes a vocal correctly. So you have an artist who is known for using an effect that requires less effort in a vocal performance, and then you strip his voice down to nothing but his voice and a raw vocal track and a keyboard. What do you think happens? Well, if you said that 7, 8, 9, then you'd be correct. And if you said that T-Pain showcases extreme vocal control and skill, then you'd also be correct. His concert serves as another major appeal of them all in forcing artists to vocally perform how they would in their own room. While not particularly one of my absolute favorites, I can't do a Tiny Desk review and not mention the impact and importance of T-Pain's. And before we get into the rest of them, I realize that a top 12 of anything breaks the tradition of ranking in like increments of 5, 5, 10, 15, even 20. Hell, maybe even 25 if you're crazy. That's not me though. But I didn't want to have like 6 honorable mentions. I was originally going to, but I decided that I enjoy the rest of these performances so much that I just couldn't pick like 10, Now, does that display a weakness in me to not critically make these concerts compete with one another?
Yeah, probably.
However, I do hope you appreciate the uniqueness of a top 12 and can come to understand why I didn't stop at 10. Here we go. Not in any particular order. Scott Mulvihill. What's better than a man, a double bass, and a tiny desk? A lot of things, actually, but that's not the point. Previous to watching his concert for the first time, I admittedly had no idea who this guy was, and that might be the case with you. Hearing his name, you're probably like, who the F is Scott Mulvihill? Well, let me tell you. With a face that's a mix of Rivers Cuomo, the lead singer of Weezer, Drake Bell, and Jason Bateman, and a voice like an angel and a shiny smile, not unlike that of pop sensation Chip Skylark, Scott really impresses me with his musical abilities. He shares in between songs that he played alongside bluegrass singer Ricky Skaggs, which was coincidentally my name in high school. Though for reasons I would rather not discuss. A recent liking the blues has made me adore this concert very much over time. With every viewing, I'm in awe that a dude named Scott can manage to make a giant violin produce so many different sounds. The strings for the melody and bass, the upper bout for percussion, and the end pin for swinging that thing around like a British white flag in Yorktown. Yeah!
God bless the USA.
To incorporate a quote from one of the best baseball movies of all time, The Sandlot, and to make it apply to this specific artist and situation, quote,
For us, smacking the living hell out of a double bass was just a game. But for Scott Mulvihill, a.k.a. Benny the Jet Rodriguez, smacking the living hell out of a double bass was life.
Denzel Curry. Whoa, a bluegrass singer back-to-back with a 2016 Double XL freshman? This guy knows his stuff. Their words, not mine. I'm quoting them specifically. Who they are? I don't have to freaking tell you. This concert, specifically part of Tiny Desk's Black Music Month collection from 2023, Denzel Curry sits in my favorite rappers ever list. Denzel, come to Vegas for a concert, dude. I need to experience this in person, please. I feel like rap with the live band should be a standard for smaller venue performances. That may be a hot take. A select few people would probably discredit rap and hip-hop as not being good or enjoyable music, which feels blasphemous to say that out loud, even hypothetically. But I digress, and I don't even know what that saying means. Like a true artist, Denzel Curry showcases a few emotions in his performance that make for a very enjoyable watch while cementing him as one of my faves. Denzel Curry shows rhythm. It is impossible for a Nick's Mix and Flicks viewing of this concert without bobbing my head along to the infectious image of Denzel and his music. Some artists sing and don't move a muscle. Others may rap on a stool while only waving a finger or two. This man is the music. Watch him dance throughout his set list and try not to crack a smile. I dare you. I'm not going to bet on that because you probably would force yourself to not smile just so you can get the money. And I'm not an idiot, okay? Only sometimes. Mom, maybe skip out on watching this one. If you're a fan of Denzel Curry, you may think you know what to expect from this concert behind a tiny desk, but I promise you, you do not. Give it a watch if rap with live bands is your thing. It is very much one of my things. Oh, yeah. Tom Misch. Not Thomas, his name is Tom Misch. Mr. Misch and his funky bunch start off their concert with Tom's song titled It Runs Through Me. There's a joke somewhere in there with that title about Taco Bell or a carne asada burrito from Roberto's. Something about it running through me. Also worth noting, the studio version of this track features a verse from De La Soul, So Sick. 2 words that I would use to describe this Tiny Desk concert are groove-tastic and funktacular, trademark pending. I love to experiment with mixing genres back to back, and Tiny Desk is a way for me to do that. For example, rap with Denzel, and then kind of indie funk groove with Tom Misch. We just left the energy and aggression and stank face attitude of Denzel Curry, and now I'm dabbed by a damp cloth of guitarical bliss. And the stank face attitude didn't leave, but rather transformed from a grr stank face to an ooh stank face. When his second song, titled I Wish, starts, it shoots me back to 2020. Staying inside all the time gave me a lot of time to watch many of these Tiny Desk concerts, this one included. Watching this just is pure nostalgia for me. Since this concert was released, I've always wanted a Tom Misch vinyl record. So Tom, if you're listening, help a brother out if you would be so kind, specifically the record for your project Geography. He also kind of looks like this guy Ethan I used to work with. Ethan, I guess if you're listening, check out Tom Misch's Tiny Desk concert. Ethan was a massive John Mayer fan, and there's an astoundingly similar sound shared between Tom and John. Spillage Village. You should totally expect me to switch the momentum once again, since we just had this vibe-heavy syncopation of a Tiny Desk concert. That's the first time I think I've ever used the word syncopation, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I present to you Spillage Village, a collective of artists including Earth Gang, JID, Mariba, Jordan Bryant, Black, spelt the number 6 and then the word lack, and producers Hollywood JB and Benji. This group is the only selection on this list with a performance that is classified as one of those Tiny Desk home concerts. Basically, it's a Tiny Desk concert, just not behind the Tiny Desk in NPR's headquarters in DC. The same concept, just moved to a different place, basically. And what an insane group of people, by the way. With an array of talent and style, these folks put on a show that seems like a playback of an actual, Spillage Village concert. Thus, in turn, creating once again an instance where artists are able to transform a tiny space into a whole set, as if performing in front of thousands. With type proficient lyricism and flows from the likes of JID, Dot, or Wow Great, whatever you want to call him, one half of Earth Gang, Jordan Bryant and Hollywood JB, impressive vocals from Mariba, and master instrumental performances from Benji and Olu, or Johnny Venus, the other half of Earth Gang, along with their band. There is a clear vision for execution that they hit very well. While mechanically not perfect, in my opinion, often a performance can be enhanced by its imperfections. A showcase of skill, energy, passion, and artistic vision, this Tiny Desk concert stands out to me because of the unique traits that allow it to amplify into something more than just a concert at a Tiny Desk. JID. As sort of a branch off from the Spillage Village Tiny Desk and a continuation of real power and energy of live rap and hip-hop, this is not only one of my favorite Tiny Desk performances, but one of my favorite live performances ever recorded. How so many people continue to downplay JID and his talent is beyond me, but that's a different topic, maybe for a different time. Not even halfway through this concert, we are graced with 2 tracks that sound like they were meant to be played by a live band, and specifically the track Off Da Zoinkies. There's no cool way for me to say that. The studio version of the track Off Da Zoinkies features a sampled piano loop from the 1976 gospel track I'm So Grateful by Crowns of Glory that the keyboard player Samuel Williams perfects on his small setup behind the tiny little baby desk. It genuinely makes me cheese and geek out. It's just so satisfying to listen to. Overall, a great showcase of artistry. Watching the performance of JID himself is seeing an artist realize his further potential. This was posted in 2022, so JID has grown a ton as an artist, and knowing what he's put out since this performance is just a treat, because we can have hindsight to be like, yo, this is where he was and this is what he's making now. It's so good. A rapper, a singer, a performer, JID not only has one of my favorite set lists of the mentioned Tiny Desks in this episode, but shows at that time as a budding artist yet to reach his full potential, but well on his way. And again, with hindsight, we can clearly see that he has made it. Leve. The modern day bossa nova queen Leve has one of the smoothest voices I've ever heard. Her live vocals match the quality of her studio vocals very well, and there are even some instances of her performances where I prefer the live vocal over the recorded one. Like Kuko's performance, Leve's almost forced me into another involuntary nap. The string quartet that accompanies her is on point to the level that it sounds like a full-blown orchestra. Leve's twin sister Junia is herself a violinist and often joins Leve for live performances. Though she doesn't join her sister for this particular performance, I thought it was a fun little little tidbit of information. Junia also serves as Leve's creative director, so that's pretty cool.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Leve's songs include the simple and relatable subject matter of heartbreak, breakups, and other things that break, and those songs complement the bare production of Tiny Desk so well. We see Leve on an upright piano for most of this performance and an electric guitar for the very first track of the set, showing just some of her range and multi-instrumental talent. On one end of the Tiny Desk energy spectrum, we have Denzel Curry with his screaming vocals and focused aggression delivery, and on the other end, we find Leve with her buttery smooth voice and white bow in her hair. This type of range is exactly what you'll find all over Tiny Desk concerts. Up next, Usher. A true MC, Usher starts his performance off with introducing his band member by member so we know what to expect. And what ends up happening is one of my favorite Tiny Desk performances, hence it being on this list. It was quite funny scrolling through the comments on his performance because the majority of the comment section includes people thirsting over Usher and his dimples and voice. But can you blame him? Usher's a good-looking dude, no doubt about it. He pops out with effortlessly smooth vocals, making any attempt of mine to do an Usher impersonation while singing doomed from the start. The man oozes swag and confidence and charm, and
Not me thirsting over Usher with the comments, what the frick?
this is one of those classic Tiny Desk performances that every fan of the concept should watch. Usher performs with an infectious energy, and it even gets the office workers in attendance to sing along to one of his tracks, which, having watched a lot of these, not everybody has that power and control over the audience. When I think about my favorite genres of music, a list usually comes to mind. A list including rap and hip-hop, alt-rock, blues, indie rock, drum and bass, trap, and many other styles of music. And I feel like I often criminally overlook R&B as not only one of my favorite genres, but one of the most technically impressive. There's a way that R&B makes me feel, and it's different for everybody. For me, it soothes any turmoil in my head and makes me roll my shoulders while intently trying to feel the music. I'm doing it right now. You can't see, but it's pretty cool.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
So like when I watch it, just imagine me rolling my shoulders. Usher's Tiny Desk makes all that happen for me. Usher's Tiny Desk does what R&B does for me. Usher's Tiny Desk is R&B. Lee Fields is who we're talking about next. This one holds a very special place in my heart, but before I get too into that, I want to talk about Lee Fields just for a couple seconds. Lee Fields released his very first single way back in 1969 and has been active in music since. Starting out in New York on his mother's last $20, he quickly made a name for himself in the soul scene. He resembled James Brown's moves and styles so much that people coined him Little JB or Little James Brown. So, a couple of years ago, I heard this song of his titled Forever. Listened to the song for the first time, added it to my music, and thought nothing more of it. Fast forward 2 years, my fiance and I at the time, now wife, oh yeah, were driving home from Arizona, and the topic of what our first dance song was going to be at our wedding reception came up. And we had narrowed it down to 2 songs, Forever and her pick, Crazier by Taylor Swift. We couldn't come to a decision, so we thought we should try to find a song together rather than deciding on my song or hers. So Sydney, my now wife, yes, she ended up marrying me. I don't know why, but thank goodness she did, because I don't know what I would do if I hadn't.
Aw, that is so cute. Oh my gosh.
Sydney found a first dance song playlist, filtered through the songs, and we couldn't find one that we were feeling, so she played Forever again and started crying, which made me cry, and we knew from then what our first dance song was going to be. Perfect by Ed Sheeran. Totally kidding. We picked Forever by Lee Fields. So while doing research for this epi, I discovered that Lee Fields has a Tiny Desk concert, which was posted about 2 years ago, part of NPR's Tiny Desk Black History Month for 2023. I guess this could have been more of an honorable mention, but his performance is really good, sentimental value aside. I especially love how carefree he performs and sounds so damn smooth, dude. I feel like I want to give him a hug, which... Is that weird? Yeah, that might be kind of weird. Sorry. His song Ladies features a line I would like to highlight. The subject of the song is of his love for ladies. He sings,
Big ones, short ones, tall ones, small ones, white ones, black ones, brown ones, All ones, all you ladies.
Lee loves the ladies. LaKaylee 47. With LaKaylee 47, we have another excellent example of the beauty of mixing jazz and rap. Several times during this Tiny Desk concert, I found myself enveloped in what was happening on the screen. Even now, while I'm getting my thoughts down, I have LaKaylee 47's performance on my other monitor, and I have to keep myself from getting distracted because I want to keep watching it. While not the only skill she possesses and shows in her performance, her cadence and flow is so sharp. It reminds me of listening to the now ex-boy band Brockhampton for the first time. Not in the sense that I think LaKaylee 47 and the guys from Brockhampton vocally sound the same, just that they both show such a unique artistic vision. Branded with her signature bandana face covering, this time pink, and complete with a set of gold hoops in her ears through the bandana. Like, who else is popping out like this? No one. There's such a chill but persuasive groove to the whole set list, showcasing what I think makes this beloved by moi. LaKaylee 47 also shows off her vocal chops in songs like CIAA and Money, along with TSA band member Portier, who gives a clinic in jazz, piano, and keys. He's also got a great voice. In fact, the whole band kills it with this performance. The drummer, Timmy Manson Jr., has this infectious smile on his face the whole time, and it's clear that the guy loves what he does. On the bass is Simba Scott, and on the guitar is Justice West, whom we will see again later. My favorite rap performance from the setlist is probably Girl Blunt, which, let's just say, isn't about a girl who is straightforward, okay?
It's not that kind of blunt.
Yeah, this is a really fun watch, and it gets better with every single watch. We're moving on to Daniel Caesar. Vocally, Daniel Caesar has one of the most impressive entries on this list. You know how sometimes you watch a singer perform and get annoyed at how effortless it looks for them to sing as well as they do? That's what happens to me every time I watch this Tiny Desk concert. Daniel Caesar is truly a nonchalant dreadhead. He just leans against the piano, sips the tea in his mug between songs, and casually blows me away with his range. If you couldn't tell by now, I like chill and jazzy music, and mostly when it's live. I can't help it. I'm just a chill guy. I like the idea of all of these performances just being jam sessions because it feels more genuine to me as a listener. Also, Daniel Caesar is casually joined by R&B singer Her. Her's so good. Her's so talented at singing and whatnot, amongst other things. Her's got such a beautiful voice. She walks behind the Tiny Desk to join Mr. Caesar Salad to perform their iconic track, Best Part, which, yes, is even better live. I thought Her was maybe blind upon the first couple watches because she kind of rolls up in big old sunglasses and does the Stevie Wonder head movement when she sings. There's even a part where Daniel kind of like guides her a little closer to the mic in order to get a clearer vocal. And I used to just think,
wow, how sweet of him to guide his blind friend.
Yes, I'm fully aware Her isn't blind, that the head movement is a very common thing for singers to do, and that her shades are just cool shades. This concert ends with everybody smiling and laughing, doing what I love watching artists do, which is making art. Now, I wanted to include this section here and express my love and appreciation for black artists. So much of the music I listen to and love would not exist without the time, talent, dedication, and sacrifice of black artists. Typically, it's my belief that if I feel like the music is good, then I think it's good. And if I feel like it's not good, then I don't think it's good, no matter what race, ethnicity, background, or gender. But it didn't feel right to do this list and not specifically thank not only the black artists on this list, but those that continue to make art and music that progresses the medium to grow and be something greater than what it was yesterday. Up next, Anderson .Paak and the Free Nationals. Now, you want to talk about rhythm? Then we must discuss this certain Tiny Desk concert. To be clear, this is the Anderson .Paak and the Free Nationals Tiny Desk, not the Free Nationals Tiny Desk featuring artists like Anderson .Paak, Chronixx, and India Shawn. Those are two different things. The one word I would use to describe the energy in this performance, and I've used it a handful of times already, is infectious. From the groove to the raspy but smooth vocals from Anderson .Paak, over to the perfected drumming also by Anderson .Paak, and the accompanying keys and guitar from the rest of the band, this has surely gone down in history as one of the best Tiny Desk concerts ever. Currently sitting at 115 million views at the time of this recording. The view count alone qualifies this performance to take the third most watched Tiny Desk concert of all time, under Dua Lipa of all people at number 1.
What the frick? frick? Why is Dua Lipa at number 1?
And the number 2 spot belonging to the last entry on this list that we're going to talk about. When I talk about loving live music and often preferring it over recorded tracks, this is the kind of performance that makes me feel that way. Part of the beauty of live music is artists taking requests for songs to perform. And if you thought that the instrumental and vocal performances weren't impressive enough here, these guys take an effing request from the audience. Now, in all of the Tiny Desk concerts I've watched, I have never seen any other artist or group take an audience request. I think it's likely due to the set list being predetermined and rehearsed, so that any and all instruments that are needed for the 3 to 6 song set list typically are there and ready to go. I think being able to improvise and play a song on the spot is part of being a musician, and I would put Anderson .Paak in the musician category and not just the artist and rapper category. Too many times, I think multifaceted and talented artists are designated by the masses to a certain genre or type of performance that they are most popular for. And artists like Anderson .Paak and the last artist who has a Tiny Desk concert that we're going to talk about today fall into that musician category. Now, my favorite musician of all time is the last entry on this list. Not only is his Tiny Desk concert an amazing and entertaining experience, but it has become a comfort video not only for me, but for millions of others as well. I said at the beginning that these were in no particular order, and that's true for all of the performances except for this one. This is the only Tiny Desk concert on this list that is ranked, and it is ranked number 1. Let's talk about my favorite and globally second most viewed Tiny Desk concert of all time, Mac Miller. Mac Miller is the whole reason I wanted to do this episode in the first place. I always knew he had my favorite Tiny Desk, and so it was on to discovering others that I enjoyed as well. This list does not exist without Mac Miller. Hell, my creative drive for the last few years doesn't exist without Mac Miller. I'm going to try to keep this section a discussion solely focusing on his Tiny Desk because I knew there's a chance I would veer off into my Mac fanboy brain and get off topic, but I will still try to do that, but I can't promise not going off subject a little bit. Mac starts his performance off with the track Small Worlds from his album Swimming, which released 3 days prior to the filming of this Tiny Desk concert and 5 days before it was posted. 2 days to film, edit, and post a 17-minute long performance is pretty impressive. The miniature performance of Small Worlds features Thundercat, a songwriter and longtime friend and collaborator of Mac's, on a shaker. Typically seen on the bass guitar, Mac catches a few laughs during the performance just at the sight of his friend shaking a shaker. That then leads into the funkalicious track What's the Use, where Thundercat is now seen taking his usual post, plucking at a bass guitar. And we also see the return of Justice West, the guitarist from the Lekele 47 Tiny Desk concert as well. I've seen Mac's Tiny Desk concert so much that I've associated Justice West with it, so seeing him in another one of my favorite Tiny Desk concerts was pretty cool. The bass line from this song is so iconic and wavy enough to get even the most stubborn of people to tap their foot or nod their head. There's a bass riff about halfway through the song right before the second chorus where Mac moves his head in unison to the riff, and it is one of many instances in this performance that show just how charismatic and full of a love for music he is. The song ends and Mac laughs and banters with his band, which was the typical experience of anybody Mac hung around with. He closes out his set with the track 2009, which is widely renowned for being one of Mac's most personal songs, though I would argue that most, if not every song of his was personal, ? Mac was not one to write about things he had not experienced, so kind of
Technically, every song was personal.
songwriting is personal. I've written songs in the past, if you didn't know, and Mac being a massive inspiration and example of effective and emotional songwriting for me. Listening to Mac and watching his Tiny Desk makes me want to pick up the pen again and try to put lyrics like his on paper, but I'm a long while out from having written a song, and I think by now I've realized that I prefer to enjoy music by listening and dissecting it instead of trying to embody what I love about my favorite artists into a song. Not that songwriting for me is a futureless endeavor. Who knows, I might pick up the pen again one day, but I'm in this stage of my life where I value listening to and hearing these artists instead of trying to become one of them myself. Overall, I think that Tiny Desk concerts are a great way for artists to show their artistry and their craft. Whether you've got people who just sit on a stool and sing, or you've got someone sitting on the drums, playing the drums the whole time and singing and then directing the band. I just think that this is one of the best ways to watch one of your favorite artists perform. And trust me, there are so many more notable artists that have Tiny Desk concerts that are not on this list. I recommend you scroll through these, find out your favorite. It's really fun to watch all of these and to watch my favorite artists perform and be in their element, you know. Tiny Desk for me is pure artistry. And again, I want to recognize Mac Miller. He unfortunately passed away in September of 2018. He is to this day my favorite musician and artist. And it saddens me to know that any future music we might get from him has been recorded and probably was recorded a long time ago. That's going to close out our discussion today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I genuinely mean it. Thank you guys a ton. Please drop a like if you like what you heard. Either subscribe or follow the podcast depending on what platform you're on. I took last week off, so if you were waiting for an episode last week, I apologize, but we are back and we're going to keep going from here. Thanks again for tuning into Nick's Mix and Flicks, the show where we talk music and movie reviews and other stuff too. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, when I hear music, got to talk about it. Got me a collection of movies that I can watch a lot of. If that's not your suit, at least try it on for a fit. You gotta tune into this Nick's Mix and Flicks.
Banter, banter, banter.